the way we classify hurricanes now, the category 1 through 5 scale, is that the best way? And if not, what are your thoughts on how we could change that? Mark, we'll start with you if you want.
Sure. So we thanks. We talked about this on one of our shows again not too long ago, and I thought one of the interesting things that came up is I guess I will say I think the just the 1 through 5 is probably not sufficient. Too many people now will say, "Oh, well, it's a category 1, I'm fine," or it's category 2, I'm fine. But then the flooding comes, right? And the storm surge and the flooding, comes after it, and then that, causes all the problems that it does, and turn around, don't drown, which nobody believes either. They try to drive through it, right? Well, anyway, we talked a lot on our show about could there possibly be a two-column, 2 or 3, column 1 through 5, where it says, okay, it's a category 1 in terms of wind, but the expected storm surge would put it at a category 3 for storm surge. And what does that mean? Now, I know that can get confusing because people have more things they have to think about there, but maybe at least one or two extra pieces of information might be valuable to people and might help them understand, oh yeah, that last one that was a category 3 for storm surge really caused a lot of problems. I have to take that seriously. That was one of the things we talked about and thought maybe there was a way to do that.
Dr. Scholar, from an academic standpoint, would this cause confusion in how records are kept and things like that? We obviously went from the F scale to the EF scale with tornadoes, but reanalyzing, would that come into play as far as going back and looking at different hurricanes and perhaps reclassifying it if we ever were to change the scale?
I think most definitely that's going to foul up the climatology. That was one of the comments I think that was made when the EF scale was under consideration. Fortunately, the record of reliable tornadic events goes back to about 1950. So with the implementation of the Doppler radar network in 91 and then the EF scale in 2000, was it 7, I think? Anyway, I think that there is a side-by-side comparison at times that's made with particular events. But we needed to go to the EF scale. For anyone who's done damage surveys and had to rely on the old F scale, it was totally inadequate. The EF scale now is actually under consideration for an improvement to that as well. And engineers have been brought in. There's a group that's actually looking at improving the EF scale. To go back to the hurricane scale, the beauty of it is it is simple, right? It's 1 to 5. I'm really glad that the Hurricane Center got away from incorporating storm surge, minimum pressure, and maximum winds under the same category. We found from Hurricane Ike, for example, that was bad. That was a bad thing to do. We found from Hurricane Katrina, which was a category 3 at landfall, but had a category 5 storm surge, if you wanted to go back to the original numbers. I'm really glad that that's been separated out. The public, are they ready for that? I'm not sure, particularly in the heat of an event.
Yeah, I want to get in on this also, and you make a great point. And also to go forward with that, I think if you want to keep the Saffir-Simpson scale as is, keep it. But what's more important to me is being able to communicate the appropriate risks, because in hurricanes, the majority of deaths come from storm surge, not from wind damage or wind-related damage. So what's going to be the best way to communicate the risk of that storm surge? I guess in addition to the wind speed, and that's a great question for somebody that's much smarter than I.
Right.